If you have a toddler that isn't gaining weight and growing well, I have some tips for you today. Helping your toddler gain weight and grow normally is key to his future health. But you don't want to make eating stressful or unpleasant because this can damage his relationship with food and his future health. In this video, I'm going to take you through some toddler tips for gaining weight and helping your toddler gain weight gradually and in a healthful way. I'll talk about some of the mistakes parents make when feeding their toddlers so you don't make them too. And finally, I'll help you keep perspective on feeding toddlers because, hey, it's not easy. Hey everyone, I'm Jill Castle. I'm the host of The Nourished Child on YouTube. You can find me on my website and on my podcast of the same name. Hope you are all doing great today. We're talking about helping toddlers gain weight in a healthful way. We're going to talk about food and feeding, but mostly I'm going to talk about feeding because I've already talked about weight gain food for toddlers. You can check out that video here. I'm going to talk about your job versus your toddler's job. I'm going to talk about pressure to eat. I'll also talk about how you react to your child's reactions. I'll talk about structure and staying on time with meals and snacks, and I will talk about being flexible. So let's dig in. First, let's talk about your job versus your toddler's job. Your job is to make sure you have food on the table, a nice balanced meal representing all those different food groups that are full of nutrients that your toddler needs to grow and develop. Your job is also to determine the timing, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and the location of where your toddler is eating. Now, that's all you have to do. Believe me, that's all you have to worry about. Now, your toddler's job is to decide whether he's going to eat what you've offered, and he's also going to decide how much he's going to eat. That is his job. Your job's over here. It's separate. It's all about planning your meal and getting it cooked and on the table in the right location and at the right time. Your toddler's job is all about deciding whether he's eating what you're offering and how much he's eating. So we're keeping those two jobs separate because when you start to come over and tell your toddler what to eat and how much to eat, we have all kinds of problems. When your toddler tries to come over and tell you what is on the menu, where he's going to eat, and what time he's going to eat, we have more problems. So we want to keep these two jobs separate. This is called the division of responsibility, and it was developed by Ellen Satter, and it works beautifully with toddlers. So that's your first thing. Know your job, know your toddler's job, and do not cross over. Second, no pressure to eat. No pressure at the table, no begging, no cajoling, no forcing your child to take more bites, reminding, nagging him to take another drink. No pressure. I talked a lot about this in a video recently that I did, all about pressure to eat. You should go watch that because it's very important with toddlers because toddlers are developmentally driven to be independent and to explore. And if they feel that their independence is getting stomped on, what are they going to do? They're going to say no, they're going to push back, and they're going to engage in a battle with you over eating. We don't want that. We don't want to fight with our toddlers. We want to work with our toddlers. So one of the hallmarks of feeding toddlers is to make sure you are not using pressure. Third, and maybe one of the hardest things to do, is to not react to your toddler's reactions about food and eating. So when your toddler's like, ew, I'm not going to eat that, yuck, you are totally placid. You do not react. You don't get angry. You don't beg your child. You don't try to convince them that it tastes good. You are completely placid, no reaction, and you just keep doing your job. And one of the things that you can say when your toddler gives you a negative response about what you're serving is you just say, you don't have to eat it. And you go on about your business. When we have an emotional reaction to the way our toddler is behaving, believe it or not, it's like adding gas to the fire. They are definitely in a cognitive developmental mode where they are trying to understand what their behavior does to the environment around them. That's why toddlers drop food off of their high chair tray when there's an animal or a dog or a kitty around, because they want to see what will happen. And so this feeds into the same situation when we react to our toddlers. If we get angry with our toddler because they're not eating or they won't stop eating, that fuels their behavior. It's adding fuel to the fire. So don't react. Be neutral, neutral, neutral. And I know it's hard because I know we all get frustrated, we get angry, we get sad, we get disappointed, but literally do not let your toddler see you sweat, react, or become emotional about the way they are eating. Fourth, stay on time with your meals and snacks. Get really structured with these. And for toddlers, we're talking about every 2.5 to 3 hours, there should be an eating session. We are looking for 6 eating sessions a day. That sounds like a lot, but you have to remember, toddlers have tiny tummies. They don't eat a lot of food at one sitting, and yet they need 40 different nutrients. They need calories per pound at a higher level than we do as adults. So it's really important that we're staying on a timely structure with meals and snacks so that they have the opportunity to eat the foods that they need to eat and in the amounts that they need to eat them. Now, we know that toddlers can be so finicky and unpredictable with their eating. They can eat a huge breakfast and then not hardly eat anything until afternoon snack. We're not going to cave into that. We're not going to cater to that kind of eating behavior because this eating behavior is very typical for toddlers. Ideally, we are doing our breakfast and we know they love breakfast, so we are really making it an awesome breakfast full of a protein source, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, dairy, whatever, a balanced meal at breakfast, capitalizing on that appetite and that desire to eat. But we are still offering a nutritious snack mid-morning. And if your toddler doesn't eat it, that's okay, because 2.5 to 3 hours later, we are offering lunch. Again, a robust, well-balanced, nutritious lunch. And then we're doing snack in the afternoon. And at an afternoon snack, we're actually thinking back on the day and we're thinking, what has my toddler been eating today? He hasn't really been having a very good day. He's not eating that much. So snack at that point can be more robust to make up for the fact that your toddler hasn't been eating that well during the day. Or if your toddler has had a huge breakfast and a huge lunch, you might be thinking, oh, he doesn't need a snack. We're still going to offer the snack because we want to maintain the routine. We want to maintain that structure. And if your toddler decides not to eat that snack, then you know, that's kind of to be expected because he's been eating really well throughout the day. So you're looking forward, you're looking back, you're assessing and monitoring what your toddler's doing with eating, but you're maintaining that schedule. 3 meals and 3 snacks. Guys, I completely understand the predicament of having a picky toddler who's not eating enough and not gaining weight. I experienced this with my very first child, and it was nerve-wracking, let alone just like totally confusing because, hey, I'm a pediatric dietitian and I had a kid who would not eat enough and was not gaining weight. I figured it out because I focused on the feeding aspect. Of course, as a dietitian, I knew what to feed her. I was getting tripped up with the how to feed her part. And so if you find you are in that same position, don't forget I've got videos that will help you with feeding your toddler, particularly with love and limits or the diplomatic feeding style. So I do have a video called What's Your Feeding Style? It's super important for you to figure that out right now when your child is young, because you want to get a handle on that and make sure that you are parenting around food in the right ways to support your child to be a good eater and to self-regulate and have a healthy relationship with food. That's it. I just wanted to put that in there right now for you. Thanks. And by the way, A snack for a toddler can simply be a cup of milk. It doesn't have to be this huge thing. And oftentimes that's what toddlers do. They might have a big breakfast, cup of milk mid-morning, a big lunch, cup of milk, maybe some crackers or a cheese stick or some fruit as a snack in the afternoon. And a lot of times dinner's not a great meal because they've eaten so well throughout the day that by the time they get to dinner, they've met their nutritional needs, they're not that hungry, and yet that's when all of our expectations are really high up there. We really want our toddlers to eat dinner, but they're not necessarily coming to the dinner table with the appetite or the desire, and that's okay. You still have a snack before bedtime, and that can be a small bowl of cereal with milk, or it can be peanut butter toast or something like that that's more nutritious, particularly if you know that your toddler hasn't had a good dinner. And my fifth tip is just be flexible. If there is one thing about toddlers, they are unpredictable and they require our flexibility as parents. We never can predict what's going to happen in a day with our toddler. One day we can feel like so thrilled that they're eating so well, and then 2 days later they're not eating anything at all, and it can be devastating. So what we need to be doing as parents is being super flexible, but also super aware of how eating is going with our toddler. We don't want to freak out. We want to rest assured that our toddlers are growing and developing. Their appetite reflects their growth. So when they're in a growth spurt, their appetite picks up. When they're sort of slowing down in their growth, their appetite lags a bit. So we want to keep those expectations realistic. We want to stay flexible. That's it for today, folks. I hope these tips to help you feed your toddler and help him gain weight in a healthful way has helped you today. Remember, I have other videos on feeding toddlers and their weight gain foods, pressure to eat. Definitely watch those 2 videos. They're highly related to this one and will give you that full picture to help you feel confident as you nourish and feed your toddler. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.